The following program does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of the staff, management, or ownership of this station.
The following pre-recorded program is brought to you by Vitruvian, a Texas-based registered investment advisor.
Now, let the uprising begin.
There are only two genders, and one of them is right here. It's the box that rocks. This is the Angela Box Show on AM 1070 and FM 1033. The Answer.
Hello, once again, all my fellow patriots and you filthy leftist stalkers out there. You're listening to the Angela Box Show. Hi! How you feeling, America? How you feeling, ladies and gentlemen? I'm taping the show the day after the election, and boy, oh boy, we made it too big to rig, didn't we? Y'all, we're going to hear a lot over the next few days of what happened and how could this possibly happen? I'll tell you how it happened, because you've been call me crazy, but calling the American people garbage and suckers, or not suckers and losers, that's what they said. Trump said garbage and fascists and Hitler and bitter clingers and deplorables and all the crap the Democrats have been saying about us is like, color me shocked. That didn't work, ladies and gentlemen. So let's give the sea turtle killing plastic straw. Oh, y'all, the media. Let's give it to the media, the enemy of the people. And it's wild to watch the cope going on this morning. Fred and I watched the election coverage. I got to give a shout out to this one YouTube channel, because started watching on Fox, and it was they're all rah-rah-rahing this morning because they're like, oh, we better get back on Trump's good side. But last night on election night, it was not, they were pretty, not, I wouldn't say bullish on Kamala, but they were certainly trying to slow walk that Trump was running away with this. And, of course, CNN, same thing. So we ended up watching this YouTube channel called Election Time. I highly recommend giving that guy a sub. He's like a college guy. He's really, really smart, has had really good election coverage, accurately predicted the outcome. I think it's going to be about 312 in the Electoral College for Trump. He predicted that about a week ago. His election forecast did not have Trump taking Michigan or Wisconsin. And I was like, look, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, they've always voted together. There's only, I think, one time in the last 25, 30 years that didn't happen. I don't know the exact election, but it's very rare that the blue wall, such as it is, does not all vote the same way. And so Fred and I went to bed. He left about 10 o'clock last night. I was like, I'm tired. I got to get up and tape a show. I'm hopeful that we don't wake up tomorrow and we have a repeat of 2020, because I went on X and I'm reading all the stuff that all the leftists were saying. They're like, listen, don't give up hope. Remember, it's a red mirage. Remember, we woke up the next day in 2020 and Joe Biden won. It's like, well, let's go over what happened in 2020 and why that didn't happen this time. So, in 2020, what they do, of course, 10:30 at night, they shut everything down. Shut all the 5 swing states down. They're like, oh, we're just going to go to sleep. Oh, it's getting real late out there. Gotta just shut everything down. Listen, here's why they had to shut everything down. Because their polling had Joe Biden up by 7. Just like in 2016, their polling had Hillary Clinton up by 6.7 to 9. They thought, okay, we've got the polls to cover our butts, for lack of a better term. So when we pull out all the stops and the algorithms that we've programmed in the Voldemort machines, switch everything, and the whatever ballot, whatever, they thought they had it. They thought they had it in the bag in 2016, and they thought they had it in the bag in 2020. Now, when they shut everything down at night and we woke up the next day going, okay, what the hell just happened? Because we all went to sleep and Trump was comfortably ahead in all the swing states. And then we woke up and was like, what? And then you look back and you saw that after they, quote, shut everything down at 1:30, 2:30 at night, all these ballot dumps happened. And 98% of them went for Joe Biden, which is fraud, ladies and gentlemen. And everybody knows it. But they've gaslit you for the last 4 years. They've called you a conspiracy theorist. They said you were crazy. And they said that Joe Biden is the most popular. He got more votes than Barack Obama, the first black president. That's how beloved Joe Biden is. The guy that campaigned from his basement. The guy who had a literal and political whore as vice president. He's so popular, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, that was never true. Ever. And so now, when you've got a situation where the polls were very much a different story, and I actually was surprised at how close the polls were because, again, they normally oversample Democrats between 5 to 7%. And so that's why, again, Joe Biden had a 7% lead, and that's why they had to shut everything down because everyone's like, uh-oh, the polls were way drastically off, so we're not going to be able to pull this off. That's why they did that. Now, last night, Tuesday night, when the polls had Trump up, 0.5, 0.1, 0.2 in all the swing states, and they had Kamala winning the popular vote by between, 1 to 2 points, essentially. Look, if Senator Nepal if she was not up by 3 to 4% in these polls in the popular vote, she had no chance of winning the Electoral College. 0. So Democrats clinging to this idea that she's going to somehow pull out a win and this is going to be very, very close. And even Obama was posting on X the day before the election going, listen, guys, listen, y'all, it's just going to be so close. It can take days. Why, it could take a week to count all these ballots. It's like, how come Barack Obama, Larry Sinclair's good friend that may or may not have snorted cocaine and had a sexual encounter with this man in the back of a limo in Chicago a few years back, how come that these votes, that the elections were able to be decided on election night until 2020? How come? Oh, that's right, because you're trying to gaslight all of us into thinking that it takes days and days and days. No, what they needed was to get those mail-in ballots. What they needed was to get those absentee ballots, etc., in order to flip it for Kamala Harris. And they realized last night this ain't gonna happen because Trump didn't just get half a percentage point or a 0.2 or a 0.1 where they could justify dragging this out for days. Trump won by 3, 4, 5 in the swing states, in the Rust Belt, in the blue wall, the vaunted blue wall. Guys, he won every single swing state, which is what Trump said he was going to do. He said, listen, guys, my internal polls show we're up in all the swing states. And Democrats, of course, are like, oh, that's just wishful thinking. Why? Trump's a fascist. Trump's Hitler. The American people are not going to vote for Hitler, are they? It's, again, co-parter, guys. This is going to be so delicious to watch. Can't wait to watch the View today. I have an ongoing daydream that one day I'm going to be on that show. And I'm going to basically start off by saying to all these dumb heifers, well, ladies, and I use that term loosely, I'm not going to be here long, but while I am, I'm going to make your lives a living hell because they need some truth spoken to them. They need a wake-up call. And the funniest part about all of this is going to be watching the lack of self-reflection, watching the lack of, what did we do wrong here? What as Democrats did we do to maybe turn off the American people to our policies? And the post-mortem of this is going to be fascinating. And in the next segment, guys, y'all who know my story, if you know what happened to me 10 years ago, and I'm going to talk about that in the third segment because it's coming up on a 10-year anniversary, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit before we get back to the election. But those of you who know my story, you're not going to believe who we've got on the show today. So stick around for that. You are listening to the Angela Box Show. I will be right back.
For the conservative cause. It's the box that rocks. Angela Box on AM 1070 and FM 1033. The Answer.
Welcome back to the Angela Box Show. Okay, guys. As I promised, I have a very surprising special guest on the show this week. And those of you who know my story know that 10 years ago I was a teacher. 10 years ago, some crazy stuff went down, and it went down with my guest. And now he and I are, like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, God's really cool. We're totally cool. Everything's chill with us now. And I wanted to bring him on because I think this election last night is just not only significant for America, but for the black community. So welcome, Quanell X, to the Angela Box Show.
Good morning to you, Angela, and to your co-host, and to those who operate the show with you. I greet you in the greeting words of peace be unto you.
Yes.
Assalamu alaikum, and thank you for having me this morning.
Well, you are very welcome, and I love that we've kind of put all of our drama to bed. And, you know, if you had told me 10 years ago that you and I would be cool and, like, friendly, I'd be like, you're smoking as much crack as Barrio Sotero did in the back of the limo with Larry Sinclair, allegedly. But anyway, what is your take on what happened on Tuesday night?
Angela, in 2005, I went and had a sit-down meeting with the Young Republicans of Texas. And I was sending a message to black people, to the black community and black men in particular, that no political party had the right to tell us who we could and could not sit down with and who we could not dialogue with. So I met with the Young Republicans, and it was a very good meeting, an interesting meeting. And subsequently after that, I met with another gentleman that used to host a talk show with, to discuss politics and the agenda of the African-American community. And I have been saying for over a decade that Republicans needed to go into the black community and at least present your platform and your agenda to black people. We would be civilized. We're not going to harm you. We're not going to do anything to you. And if your agenda is in our best interest, you may very well win some black support. The only one to do it, whether we have the courage to admit it or not, the only one to do it was Donald Trump.
Yep.
Donald Trump went into areas that even traditional Republicans said he was crazy for going into those areas, that he would receive any support from those communities. Well, look what happened last night. In Pennsylvania, in Michigan, you see, and in Georgia in particular, you see a number of African-American men crossed over and voted for Donald Trump to move the needle just far enough to swing that election. And it is because black men are sending a message to the Democratic Party. We have been lied to far too long. Mm-hmm. We have been manipulated and exploited far too long. No more will you wholesale get all of our support, and you don't even have to earn it. So this was a resounding message to America by a large number of African-American men that we're done with this game. And also, when black men saw how they were using the criminal justice system, the civil court system, to try and destroy a political candidate simply because they could not, in their mind, believe they could beat him at the voting polls, so they tried to destroy him in a courtroom, black men, whether you like it or not, could relate to that. And what that did is expose to us just how hypocritical and wicked a political party could become solely to win an election. And the results of that frustration and disappointment in our community came out last night.
Yeah, it's wild to me. You know, I want your take on this also, how every 4 years Democrats, you know, play the race card. I mean, they play the race card all the time. It's all they've got. But, you know, Senator Knee Pads goes to black churches and puts on a black preacher voice. And, you know, she had quite a bit of pushback in some of those churches where people were catcalling her and things like that. What is your take on someone like her who never never identified as a black woman. Not really. She identified as an Indian woman. And also, as AG of California, put a lot of black men behind prison for very small offenses, kept them in jail to get the free prison labor. Like, what is your take when you see Democrats go to black churches and just try and hoodwink them every 4 years?
Well, this did not start with Sister Kamala Harris.
No.
This has been a playbook used by politicians in the African American community for decades now. You only show up to black churches when you need the black vote. You only show up at the black cookout, the black barbecue. You only bring African Americans on stage for the purposes of solely entertainment and to get us to the polls, using entertainment as your methodology to move us to the polls during election time. But not this time around. You use our sister Beyonce. You use Megan Thee Stallion. You use Jennifer Lopez. You use all of these celebrities. But the American people rejected that. Why? Because they went too far to the left. You cannot say, Ms. Harris, that you support taxpayers paying for transgender surgery for inmates in prison, but yet an African-American man can't go to bank and get a $5,000 loan to open up an ice cream stand, but you are willing to pay $20,000 to $25,000 for a man to get a sex change in prison. You cannot say, Kamala Harris, to black men in particular who grew up playing sports in the hood as an outlet to stress, as a way to get out of the condition that we have been shamefully and living in for generations. Black men started, she was saying, I support men playing in girls' sports. Well, how can you tell a father of young girls that you support a boy playing in the same sport as his daughter? So he goes to a wrestling match, and here it is, his poor daughter on the mat, and she's wrestling Andre the Giant. She's wrestling Batista the Rock. And you tell me that's political correctness? Oh, hell no. So they went too far. And brothers rejected that.
They went too far. And if the View this morning is any indication, I haven't seen it, but I'm getting lots of texts about it. I imagine the View is getting its largest viewership of all time with all the hate watching and the gloating from the right. But there's no self-reflection whatsoever. There's no, hey, maybe we've gone too far. It's no. They're blaming uneducated white women, so they're pulling the race card out again, but they don't want to talk about the fact that Trump got Latinos by about I think it was 30. It was something like 41% black vote.
Exactly.
He didn't get as much as I thought he was going to get. Like, I thought he was going to get about 25 to 30%, but he got 15%, which almost doubled his take from 2020. And I think the more that people wake up to how destructive the Democrats have been to the black community. Remember, it was Lyndon B. Johnson who said after the Great Society was passed with welfare, the cradle to the grave welfare, he said, and this has been very verified colloquially, and they don't want to admit this, but Lyndon B. Johnson said after he signed that, he goes, boy, I'm going to have those N-words voting Democrat for the next 200 years now. And that's when the systematic destruction of the black community happened, taking fathers out of the homes, abortion clinics on every corner, destroying the public school system, and black people are finally waking up, and I love it.
What we have to do now as African American men is we have to become more independent. And becoming an independent collectively as men in our community gives us the power to not pledge total undying support to either party, but gives us the power to swing policy in the direction that benefits the black community. We can no longer be solely aligned to one party that promises everything under the sun and then tell us they can build a castle on a single grain of sand and know they're lying to us at the same time. That has to change. And last night was a monumental shift in how she lost that race. America will never be the same for the next 30 years after last night because the American people spoke. The country has gone way too far to the left, and they want to bring it back to the center.
Right, and I think when the postmortem of this time period happens, I think that all of us are going to be able to point to Barack Obama as the point where everything started to go terribly wrong. He promised fundamental transformation, and people thought that was just like, hopium and hope and change and all this crap. And what it was a destruction of mores, a destruction of morality, a destruction of America exceptionalism. And I think that when we look back, and we're going to have a major course correction right now, and I agree with you, it's going to be a big change. I see the black community like pulling the lever for J.D. Vance in 4 years, even more than they did for Trump.
If the Democratic Party does not shift back to the middle of common sense.
Yeah.
If they stay the course that they're on now, anybody could get our vote.
Yep.
That's opposed to such a liberal left extreme that does not benefit our people. What they fail to recognize is the overwhelming majority of African Americans in this country still call themselves Christians.
Yes.
You can't be a really deep believing Christian and get up on a Monday or Tuesday and vote for a policy that totally rejects what your traditional faith has taught you all your life.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right.
But I thank you for having me this morning.
Quanell, it's God's amazing, and I'm really happy that you and I have kind of put our drama behind us, and it's great. I love it, and thank you for coming on, and you'll be on my other show, and I'll see you at the Fox after party whenever we have that again. That's going to be fun. I don't know when we're doing it, but it'll be fun.
Be blessed. Take care and have a great day.
All right, everybody. You're listening to the Angela Box Show. We'll be right back.
Only two genders, and one of them is right here. It's the box that rocks. This is the Angela Box Show on AM 1070 and FM 1033. The Answer.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, how about that? How about them apples?
Dig.
If you had told me that 10 years ago that Quanell X and I would not only be, like, civil, but, like, cool with each other, I've been like, yeah, you're crazy. So on November 10th is the 10-year anniversary of when my life completely changed. I was sitting in my classroom as a third grade teacher, and I got a call from the secretary. And the secretary said, hey, someone from Fox 26 wants to talk to you. And I knew, my heart sank into my stomach. And I'd been doing a late-night cable access show called Tommy's Garage for about 6 weeks. And I remember my mom and my sister were like, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't do that. I'm like, no, Here's the deal. I get to have a hobby. I get to speak my mind. I've always been political. I've always been into politics, even when I was an actress in L.A. And, I was very out. I was never closeted. I was always very, very vocal. And I'm like, actually, no, I'm not a stripper. I get to have an opinion, and I get to go do something that I want to do. It's an outlet. It's a hobby. I enjoy doing it. I'm doing it. And so when I got the call from the secretary that Randy Wallace of Fox 26 wanted to talk to me, I was like, oh, here we go. And it was wild, you guys. I continued to work at my school for 10 days while they went through my social media to see if what Quanell said I said actually happened. And I'm going to give you I'll try and give as much of a summary of this as I can because, God puts obstacles in your path. God puts trouble in your path. So to kind of see if you can rise above it, if you can get beyond it. So I remember I was working out at like 4:30 in the morning because that's how I got my anxiety out, and I've always exercised in the morning. And I got an email, I got a call from Kenny Webster, who everyone in Houston knows. He's a talk show host. He worked for Michael Berry. At the time, he was Michael Berry's producer. And I'd been on Michael Berry's show, and we had a great time, a great interview. And I'd been interviewed, and by that point, I was in the Daily Mail, like, at least once. And he's like, Angela, have you checked your email yet? And I'm like, no. So I went and I checked it. And again, it was 4:30 in the morning. And there was and he was like, dude, Quanell X just put like this citywide press release out about you. I was like, who's Quanell X? Like, I'm not a Texas native. So I was like, I don't know who this guy is, but found out I'll just, at the time, listen, I will say this about Quanell. He has mellowed a lot, and his eyes have opened to things too. And so I can't, I'm not going to sit here and bash him. I'm just going to tell you the story, okay? So I was like, who's Quanell X? He's like, oh, he's like kind of like our Al Sharpton of Houston, evidently. So I look at this press release, and at the top of the press release, it says, the new Black Panther Party and the new Black Muslims. And I was like, oh, God, what is this? And basically, it was like, we're going to be protesting this racist teacher. She said, guys, this is exactly, well, I'm paraphrasing. I don't have the press release in front of me. It's on my website, angelasoapbox.com. You can go and find it. The press release is there. But it said that, this racist teacher, she said that, quote, and they put it in quotes, Obama's an N-word, but they didn't say N-word. They wrote it out. Obama's an N-word, and all black people are dumbasses for voting for him, end quote. And Ken Webster says to me, he goes, Angela, did you say that? I go, of course I did. What? No, of course I didn't say that. And I realized, I was like, oh my God, I've got to sue this guy. I've got to sue him because I can't let that stand. And y'all, I had $3,000 to my name, savings, everything. And I knew I was going to be losing my job. I knew that my whole life was getting ready to be turned upside down. And so I tried to find an attorney. I didn't have any money. I had no money. All the attorneys I talked to were like, okay, you've got a case. Like, this is clearly defamation. If you're saying you didn't say this, then it's defamation. I'm like, of course I didn't say it. That's ridiculous. I was a teacher in the inner city. Okay? I actually wanted to help kids better themselves and get out of the playground to prison pipeline that the Democrats have created, that they want to pretend that somehow Republicans created, which they did. So it was insulting. It hurt. It hurt my heart because I was I really was dedicated to helping these kids. So it was a lot, you guys. And so I basically found some attorneys that took it on pro bono, on contingency, and then inexplicably, as the motion to dismiss hearing happened, they dropped the ball and didn't respond to a motion to dismiss. So the whole case was thrown out with prejudice, and there was like $80,000 of fines attached to me. So, crazy enough, the head of Fox 26 realized that Quanell and I would be kind of a combustive TV thing. And so when Matt Patrick, the late Matt Patrick, who was so kind and so gracious to me, I've heard, he talked about what happened to me on the air and things like that. When he was going through his cancer treatments, the head of Fox 26 was like, let's put her and Quanell together. And as crazy as that was, it worked. And it worked big time. And so as time went on, Quanell and I got to know each other. And we realized, he realized I'm not this demon, and I realized he's not this demon. We have different backgrounds, different opinions, and that's okay. And we kind of just started getting along better. And at some point, a couple of years back, he's like, if you ever need that judgment waived, I'll do that. And I was like, all right, well, you could do that now. Let's get it done. Finally, this year, just a couple months ago, he signed a waiver of judgment. So it's done. It's over. And talking to him now as one fellow human to another is so cool. And it just makes you realize that, anything is possible. Like, the people you think are your enemies, or they're diametrically opposed to you, they're really not. And this is what is exciting about what I think is going on in this country with the Great Awakening, and the awakening that's going to continue on as Trump makes America great again, as the team he has assembled makes America great again. Because at the end of the day, when people kind of open their eyes to what Democrats have done to the black community, to the black family, to the black schools, people are going to be outraged. And once you see, you cannot unsee. And so it's been 10 years, guys. And I had a friend named Tammy Denny. Hi, Tammy. Shout out to Tammy. And I talk about this every year on the anniversary, that when I was going through this stuff, and, again, I was in the Daily Mail 3 times, which is nuts. And Tammy Denny said to me, Angela, I know it doesn't feel like this right now, but this is going to be the best thing that ever happened to you. So I was working for 10 days while they were combing through all my social media, all my appearances on Tommy's Garage, like to see, did I say this? Is there a reason to fire her? And, they didn't fire me. It became a situation where it was completely untenable to continue. I had parents pull their kids from my class. And I remember just the little faces. My principal who loved me the day before, like, started coming into my classroom and, like, looking, cherry picking every little thing and, saying, yeah, you're getting emotional in front of your kids. Like, I'm like, are you kidding? Like, I had, black colleagues that loved me the day before. When all this went down, the next day shunned me completely because I criticized Obama. Okay. Like, it was insane. It was really, really, really hard. I mean, I was one of the first people that the left tried to cancel. I mean, that's absolutely true. And I was like, I'm not apologizing for having an opinion about this destructive man, about what he's doing to this country and to the world. I'm not going to apologize for that. I'm not going to apologize for having some salty language about radical Islamists. No, I'm not apologizing. Had a press conference. Like, it was a whole thing, guys. I mean, what they wanted was for me just to kind of, crawl up in a ball and say, I'm sorry. Look, first of all, there's no universe that would have existed. Like, I wasn't going to apologize. I had nothing to apologize for. But second of all, there was no universe that existed that I would have had my contract renewed. Like, let's just, funny. It's funny, too, because I've always had this kind of sense that I was supposed to be doing something big in a way, or public, or, not just an everyday kind of job. And I remember 2 weeks before this all went down, I remember looking at my students. And this is the thought that I swear to God, this is the thought I had. I looked at them, my sweet little ducklings. I loved, it was a great school, neighborhood school. It wasn't like the former school, which I considered Thunderdome, throwing death, jank and weave. Like, it was, the last school I ever did was rough. But I looked at my kids and I was like, well, okay, I guess this is my life. I'm not going to be doing anything big. I'm never going to get married, and I'm going to drink too much and live for the summers. Like, that's the thought that went through my head. And God, 2 weeks later, was like, nope. And he had to shake me from my complacency, which I've said a lot. And I would say to you, if you're going through a hard time or challenges, I would say to you, never, ever stop. Never give up, number one. Never give up. Number two, keep your faith, keep your relationship with God at the center of everything, and you will be amazed at the things that he will do for you. And so it's just, I look back on this 10 years of a lot of ups and downs and things that I've gone through, and I'm so grateful that I'm on the other side of it. I'm so grateful that Quanell and I are cool. I'm so grateful that I have the opportunity to speak my mind freely and not have any backlash for it, because this is what I do now. And I'm so grateful to have an amazing fiance, and I'm going to be getting married, and it's great. God is amazing, you guys. Like, God is amazing. So I wanted to share that with you and just give a shout out to the 10-year anniversary of all this. So when we get back, we're going to get back to the election because I have more thoughts. So you're listening to the Angela Box Show. We'll be right back.
It's the Box that rocks with Angela Box on AM 1070 and FM 1033. The Answer.
Okay, so when I don't expect one single Democrat, and when I say Democrats, there's like normal Democrats who voted for Trump. I mean, the left is just like, how could you vote for Hitler? Oh my God. I don't expect one single second of self-reflection. No introspection whatsoever. And, it's funny, Kamala Harris pulled a Hillary Tuesday night, and she refused to come out and even address her supporters. Miss, I'm speaking. I'm speaking now. Well, this heifer didn't want to come out and speak last night. And at least, like, this is how gross Democrats are. And I mean elected Democrats. Like, they have such little regard for their supporters. Like, they really do. Like, she didn't even have the courtesy to come out, her and Tampon Tim, to come out and say, hey, guys, looks like we're not going to be able to make it. And, again, the American people made this thing too big to rig. Trump just didn't win. He's got a mandate, and that's what we needed to have happen. Because he's going to hold that. We're going to hold the House. We flipped the Senate, and we got the presidency. So now and here's something else too, and I'll get back to Senator Ebed in a minute. Here's something now that's very different than what happened in 2016. Trump knows now he talked about the deep state and he talked about globalists and things like that, but he didn't really grasp how big it was and how deep and dark and wide the swamp really is. And so when he had his transition, which was funded by the government, which Barack Obama's government, remember Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, et al., John Brennan, James Comey, all the stuff they did, the Russia collusion hoax, the Crossfire Hurricane, the spying on his campaign, all of it. This is, he was looking in good faith that his transition would be an orderly one, and there would be people in his transition team that he could trust because he wasn't a politician. He's a businessman. He'd never done this before. And so when he realized that there's a bunch of snakes in his lair, people like John Kelly or Mark Milley or, sadly enough, Mike Pence, like when he realized that these people were actually plotting against him, he got rid of them. But this time around, guys, he knows who the snakes are. So look for a much different transition. In fact, he is funding his own transition team. He's not having Joe Biden's government fund the He's like, I don't think so. Fool me once, shame on me. But what is the thing? Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. So he's not having a fool me twice situation here. And so Kamala Harris, back to this heifer, boy, let me tell you, this one is going to be shunted off in the dustbin of history. Same with Joe Biden. But wouldn't it be crazy if one of the last things that Joe Biden did was, well, we know he's going to pardon his son, but whatever. That's a foregone conclusion. But what if because supposedly he's a Catholic, supposedly he's a Christian, and he's dying soon. He will be dead soon. So maybe one of the last things he could do to really give a big F you to Obama and to Harris and all the people that stabbed him in the back, which, first of all, this crotchety, cranky old man should never decided to run in 2024 anyway. And had he not done that, had he stepped down and been like, okay, let's have a primary process, but he didn't. Like, had he done that, it might have been a different outcome last night, but whatever, it is what it is. I hope that he goes to the Trump team and says, all right, I'm going to spill everything. I'm going to tell you everything. Because in order to unburden his soul for eternity, that's what he's going to have to do. Because he knows the criminal activities he's participated in. He knows that he was involved in the Russia collusion hoax and setting up Trump and destroying people's lives. I mean, that's the thing, guys. And this is why I talk about, do the right thing. Do the right thing. Whether it's good for you or not good for you, tell the truth and do the right thing. Because if you do the right thing, if you stay consistent, eventually karma will come for the people that want to destroy you. And karma is coming for the people that on purpose destroyed this country, on purpose tried to wreck so many lives connected to Donald Trump. And I guarantee you, they're going to try and throw Trump in jail because this stupid sentencing thing, it's going to be happening, I think, November 26th or something like that. They're going to try and throw him in jail. And with the mandate that Trump has, like, I think they're going to try, but at the same time, I'm like, maybe they won't. Like, maybe they'll realize, all right, do we really want to tempt fate again? Like, do we and my gut says they will, because when Trump opens the books on everything these people have done, the Democrat Party will cease to exist. Because here's what I think Trump should do on day one. And I tweeted this last night. Not that I get any traction on Twitter, but whatever. I said, first, day one, close the border, put in all the executive orders that Biden reversed, because remember what Biden did on day one, there was like 93 executive orders on the border on immigration, and this petulant, spiteful baby brat Joe Biden is like, I'm going to do the opposite of what Trump did, even though it was good for the country. So everything that Biden reversed, Trump should just put back in place. Like, we know that now he's going to have a much more MAGA-centered legislature and Senate. And the GOP establishment is toast, all right? Just like the Democrat Party will soon be toast, all right? So do that. Pardon all the January 6th defendants. Get them out of there. Get them out of that hellhole that the Democrats have put them in with no trials for 3 years. Like, it's just disgusting what these people have done to grandmas and veterans and just everyday normal Americans that were tricked, that were invited into the Capitol. Oh, come on in. Let me open the doors for you guys. Come on in. I mean, they're still arresting people for January 6th stuff. Pardon them all. Pardon Tina Peters, who was the lady in Colorado and Mesa County County Clerk, who said, hey, Dominion and the corrupt Secretary of State of Colorado is coming in and wanting to wipe all the servers. So she made a copy of the server and sent it to law enforcement. And they threw her into jail for 9 years for that. So pardon her, and then start the disinfecting of our government. Elon Musk is going to be in there. Kennedy's going to be in there. Tulsi Gabbard's going to be in there. I would love to see Kash Patel as Attorney General, wouldn't you? Boy, Kash Patel does not play. Kash Patel is brilliant, and Kash Patel is going to start opening the books on everything the Democrats have done. And it's really going to be something. It's going to be wild because, you know, the Democrats are running around flipping out that they're all Trump's going to throw all the Democrats in jail. It's like, well, why? I mean, did you do something? Did you get thrown into jail for? Like, did you do something illegal? Because that's the only reason you would go to jail. And unlike what they've done to Trump, we're going to be bringing receipts. Okay? We're going to be bringing receipts. Hillary Clinton, your days are numbered. Donna Brazile, former head of the DNC, your days are numbered. Debbie Wasserman Schultz, your days are numbered. James Comey, Jim Clapper, John Brennan, Barack Obama, Joe Biden. Again, if Joe Biden wants to save his skin and save his soul, he better start singing. And I think he will. Because, y'all, did you see how Jill Biden on Election Day, she comes out of the Delaware polling place. She's in a red suit. I think that was a message, don't you, ladies and gentlemen? So, yes, Kamala Harris is going to be shunted off into the dustbin of history. It's going to be wild to watch how they completely just tear this dumb heifer apart. It's going to be wild, you guys. But the unbelievable turnout we witnessed on election night with a mandate when Donald Trump was like, make it too big to rig. 3, 4, 5 points, they can't drag it out. They know we're not going to be able to make this up. With the early vote that Republicans dominated in and election day, there is no way to spin this other than there is a mandate. And so it was basically a collected FU to the establishment and the elites who think they are better than us because they went to Harvard and got some useless degree in gender or African American studies. It is a big FU to the open border cynics who wanted to overwhelm our country with illegal aliens to then amnesty them and turn them all into Democrat voters. It is a big FU to people like Bill Gates and Anthony Fauci who destroyed lives on purpose by withholding life-saving therapeutics for COVID like ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, and then pushing a bioweapon into the arms of millions of Americans by the force of you're going to lose your job and livelihood if you don't take this thing. It is a big FU to the bureaucratic state, otherwise known as the deep state, that have been trying to destroy this country for decades. It is a big FU to big education and big pharma and big media and all these people who want to destroy the American system that we so treasured. It is a big FU to Barack Obama, ladies and gentlemen. And justice is coming. Not retribution, justice. So buckle up because it's going to be wild, illuminating times are ahead of us and our best days are in front of us. All right, that's my time, everybody. You've been listening to The Angela Box Show. I'll see you next week. Till next time, everybody, keep kicking ass and take a name. Peace!